Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have Kersti Bryan, who was in the series premiere this past August 14th of Tales of the Walking Dead. Kersti, thank you so much for being here. How you doing tonight?
Oh man, Jared, I am excited to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. Now, you were in the series premiere of a spin-off in the Walking Dead universe. Did you have any butterflies?
Um, yes, no question about it. I actually didn't know until quite recently that we were going to be the premiere. So that was like a whole other, I already knew how awesome the show was. I just didn't know where we were going to be in the lineup. So I'm so glad we could like get us out the door running on this
Yeah.
really cool new spinoff. Yes, butterflies, no question.
Well, it's good that you didn't know you would be the series premiere because I'm sure the butterflies would have been multiplied then. So that's a good thing right there.
Yeah,
So let's break down
yeah.
your character. You play Sandra, okay? A very interesting character in Sandra. You and Joe, Terry Cruz's character, were doomsday preppers, survivalists, prepared for whatever the end of the world might be. What kind of story did you build for Sandra pre-apocalypse?
That's such a cool question. I think I built out um, to prepare for a character like Sandra. I was, really wasn't necessarily last minute, but I'm very similar to the fans. I did not get in the script until about five 6 days before we were shooting,
Yeah.
so I really didn't even know what Sandra was up to. So, but when I found out, I kind of went down the rabbit hole of the prepping community that lives on YouTube, that rabbit hole, and
Mm-hmm.
and a number of other places for those kind of resources, and that kind of helped set like in my mind where people are at when they're prepping for things like this, and what they're thinking about. And so that was one part of Sandra, and then also the other part of Sandra is that she's obviously found somebody that she can connect with
Mm-hmm.
online. This was pre-apocalypse, so they're sharing chats and they're together, and I think she's hopeful they can someday be IRL, and
Okay.
he's the one that says no. And so I think he kind of broke her heart.
Yeah, that's right. You did want to meet in real life, and that really kind of freaked him out right there, and he was the one to put the brakes to it. So you sort of answered this question. I was going to ask, do you think Sandra was the way we see her at the end of the episode pre-apocalypse, or was it isolation that caused her to become the way that we got to meet her? Do you think it's just as simple as that, or do you think she had the tendencies there before everything fell apart?
Boy, how many of us have sat in quarantine in the last year and a half or
Very
last
true.
couple of years and was like, was that part of my character, or was that always there,
Yeah.
or is this what happens when we're under this kind of duress? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I do think that she probably was a relatively normal woman, but an apocalyptic prepper. She's not wrong. That's the thing is her and Joe were not wrong about their
Oh, yeah.
passion, obviously, because they survived, and they were ready. But I think what they couldn't prepare for was the loneliness
Mm-hmm.
and what that does, and and possibly for her, she even I even talk about it, is that she can hear people screaming above her, and she's in her bunker, and what can that do to somebody? And then maybe she allows somebody to come in, and they do something to her, and so I think from there's a crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't trust anybody.
Anybody. Now, Joe realized the whole concept of loneliness and needing that human connection, and the light bulb went on that I did all this prepping, but I'm alone, especially when his dog died. That was very sad, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, when Joe arrived at Sandra's bunker, uh, she did not even give him a chance. She was just suspicious right from the start. Why do you think she didn't even give him a chance?
That's interesting. I I think, she lets him in.
Hmm.
So, in a sense, she could have not let him in. Okay, now I'm thinking this through. Now I'm really thinking this through because if he knows where her bunker is, then it's dangerous. So
Yes.
that's one thought. That literally just occurred to me. So that could potentially have been why she let him in.
Hmm.
I do love the idea that maybe she lets him in and is hopeful, and then he just says one thing and it's just she knows.
The
So I want to give
paranoia.
her like a yeah, I just want to give her like a moment where she's hopeful that he is who she thought he was.
Okay.
And then she realizes no. But yeah.
You mentioned all the people that Sandra mentions in the episode that came when the world started falling apart. Let me in, let me in. Now, we know by the time we meet Sandra in person towards the end of the episode that she's very capable of killing someone. Do you think she actually killed people by her own hand, or did she just not let them in and watch them die on her cameras outside of that bunker?
I think she killed people by her own hand.
Ah,
I think
that's interesting.
given her weapons and the way that she's wielding a meat cleaver. But then I think to myself, that's a lot of cleanup for her in her bunker. But there is a precision to this like showcase of the watches.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that in the script, I was like, how precise is this person?
Yeah.
Is she a true serial killer that's like preparing for this, or is this like a more, someone that becomes has become unhinged?
The
So
way,
maybe there's a little bit of both, Jared. That's a
yeah,
really interesting thought.
the way she appears to me, was my interpretation. Someone that is very, big on being tidy, everything in its place. I mean, the bunker itself. Oh my God, I would love to have that as
It's
my
like
house.
glamorous. She's obviously got like a way to do leg day. She's
Yeah.
got everything in there. So there are some good questions of why they walk away from that bunker.
I was asking that when you're figured out and you're dead and you come back as a walker, doomed for eternity. Just think of that. Sandra is doomed for eternity to rot in that bunker by herself. That's talk about loneliness right there. But I really asked myself, why would Olivia Munn and Joe and Evie leave that place? I mean, it's great. You just have to get rid of
Yeah,
Sandra, and then you have this
yeah,
great place. I mean, I understand it's creepy knowing who had lived there, but honestly, if you were, let's play a little hypothetical situation here and put ourselves in their situation. I would say let's stay. What would you? I mean, would you leave into that open world again?
that girl's got obviously a generator. She's obviously set up for the next, X amount of years.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know if they fully assessed how much she had down there. I would say don't walk away too quickly. Maybe perhaps they'll return
yeah.
knowing that it's there. But also, it is interesting that that Sandra will be zombieing it up down there for
In
they just
style.
shut her down the. Oh yeah,
Why do you
yeah.
think the
What a
writers went to the extent to show the two different bunkers, Joe and Sandra's? Joe being what we would think of as a bunker, underground, just the bare necessities, but yours is lush. It's like a penthouse. What were they trying
mhm.
to, in your opinion, what were they trying to talk and tell us about Sandra that was different from Joe?
That's a cool question because in my research of bunkers, I don't want to out her name. wrongly, so I won't say, but there's some amazing women that are preppers, and they have some pretty glamorous bunkers
Wow.
that they really, and you can go, there's like some like kind of, YouTube documentaries of some of like the wealthiest bunkers in the world. Like they really, like they put a pool down there, and like
Damn.
they're truly prepared. If you really want to go down this rabbit hole,
Well, the,
you'll be like, oh, whoa, like there are these bunkers like in that are, prepared for, may this never happen, but a nuclear attack, or like, just anything. Like these folks, the very, very wealthy amongst us have poured in, a couple million so that they have their place
yeah, and
in
you know
that
what?
really fancy
It's
bunker.
it's not just individuals. There are companies who have built like cities underground and they're selling them
Yeah.
out. And they're pretty much sold
Oh
out.
yeah.
Now, let's get to the part when Evie shows up, okay? And that's where
Mm-hmm.
Sandra meets her match right there. That leads to a really cool confrontation between yourself and Olivia Munn. How did you and Olivia prepare for that scene, and how did it all play out?
You know, um, Olivia is a very gifted martial artist. I'm really good at cleaver acting. And so we had these wonderful fight coordinators, and so we carefully walked things through. And it's a tricky little scene because you know who's lying, who's not, who knows what information, and then how fast things like go sideways.
Yeah,
So I mean we did. I thought Ron Underwood, the director, and our movement team, the fight coordinators, they're like, you can't get better than this. So I mean, they just did such a gorgeous job.
yeah. And they
Yeah.
did, and it was great. I mean, Olivia, she showed off some moves in those scenes. And to
Yeah.
Sandra's credit, uh, sort of drugging everybody with the weed was also, but then she came up against Olivia, who knew it right away. Uh,
Yeah.
how long do you think Sandra was working on that way of just subduing people to where she can just take complete advantage of them?
I bet when her first experience with bringing somebody down into her bunker, and I think there was probably some kind of real violence, something really terrifying,
Yeah,
and something really terrifying happened that made her crack.
yeah.
And 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 then maybe, she probably, I mean, maybe she's got some weed plants in her little crow. Like she can do this on her own, I imagine. And so maybe this was her slowly kind of building out a plan. But again, they must be pretty potent to like do what she
yeah,
needs to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe, Terry Crews, after they got out of the bunker, he was just so funny. He was high and he didn't even realize
Oh
it.
yeah.
So he did a great
Yeah.
job with that scene. Going back to the whole loneliness aspect, Joe realized that and he left to seek companionship. Sandra, I mean, she was surprised that he was even still alive when she saw him. She
I
did not
know, like,
she did not leave the bunker for any reason whatsoever, while Joe sought after that companionship. Going back to again to Sandra's psyche, uh, is there any? I mean, letting the people in and being betrayed. Do you think there's any aspect of her that just got adapted to the loneliness, and that's what ultimately broke her?
it's the biggest tragedy because like the one guy that's like so perfect for her, and that's like, you see them together and you're like, man, they're great. Like in the middle of all of this they found each other, and she goes and makes a mess of it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the.
Yeah, like, yeah.
No, no. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we got to talk about the makeup. Okay, when you flip,
Mm-hmm.
okay, from Sandra when Joe sees you and you look like you were just finishing up a workout, and then you put on the makeup and you like turn old Joker almost on us.
Yeah,
What was that meant? At least in your opinion, what was that meant to tell us about the character?
I think this is her process also it's a special night. The love
Hmm.
of her life has arrived. And I, I think this also, that look, I mean, I think she thinks she's looking her best, her
Hmm.
absolute best, and wants him to know that before he dies.
Wow. That says a lot into the psyche of just how far gone Sandra has become at this point, whether it be loneliness or being betrayed by people up above and having to do
Yeah,
some horrible things. It really goes to show, and I think you're right. That's what the writers were trying to tell us. I loved you had a post today about you wanting everybody to do the Sandra Halloween makeup and the whole get up with the cleaver sticking out of your chest. I thought that was brilliant, by the way. That scene where you get the cleaver thrown at you in the chest, I believe your last words were something like, oh shit. Was that scripted or did you just say that out loud?
I think there was like there was something there, but what happens is my whole mouth is full of like blood so that I can spit. So I, I don't know what I was supposed to say, but but
Well,
yeah, no, I think it came out beautifully.
it did. It came out perfect. Now, working with everybody, with Terry and Olivia, it looked like you guys had a lot of fun on the set doing this. How did you guys get
Yeah,
along? What was the experience like with Terry and Olivia?
they were amazing. Oh man, like being with Terry Crews is like you want to up level every part of your life. You're like, am I good enough? Am I like am I fit enough? Am I eating right? Like there's just everything about him just asks you to kind of vibe higher. And Olivia, she's huggable, witty, she's the best and so great to work with. So I could not speak more highly of these two.
Yeah, you can definitely tell between the three of you, even though there's not a scene where all three of you are really together, the chemistry
Mm-hmm.
was definitely there and you guys really bounced off each
Oh,
other. A final question before we go. Now that you have become a part of this Walking Dead universe, this massive thing that we really don't even know what to call it, and you see the people who have been on this show for years or some over a decade, and you see what they have to go through with the makeup, with the walkers, and all that. Has it made you gain a new appreciation, not only for from being a fan of the show, but what the work that goes into making this show?
yes. In short, yes. The detail that they put into, particularly the walkers, and I mean each part of the universe, just it's extraordinary. I mean, I'll never forget, when we were shooting at night and how they have found a way to lift an orb into the sky to light the forest in
Wow.
just the right way. And they have a haze coming through, and like they just nail it. It is spooky, and like I know, like I'm like sitting there with my cup of tea being like, I know this is not real, this is not real. But then you see the walkers kind of crash, and or you hear them coming in with the the leaves or something, and
Yeah.
it's they do such a good job. And those that are been working on the show for such a long time, this is a heavy world to kind of be part of,
It is.
because we're talking about the end of the world and as we know it. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what's so great is you see people problem solving and making relationships, and so I think they must have to sit and think about these things more than all of us, which is they do such a good job.
Absolutely, they did, and you did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you,
Congratulations
Sharon.
for being the big.
Thank you.
And the show is getting rave reviews from critics and people alike.
Oh,
So that must be also very rewarding in itself to be a part of the beginning of that. It's an
yeah,
adventure, and you have
yeah.
yourself and now in the history of the Walking Dead universe. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, I'm just so grateful to be actually part of this family, and sending love to fans, and we just Just so grateful.
Absolutely. And if you guys have not checked it out yet, please check out Tales of the Walking Dead. It's available every Sunday at 9 p.m. now. We just got through episode 2 this Sunday. Episode 3, which is bringing back Samantha Morton as Alpha, is coming up this Sunday. So you definitely want to check that out. If you're behind, check it out on AMC Plus. I want to thank our guest, Kersti Bryan, for joining us tonight and sharing her stories. I want to thank our audience, those who are tuning in live and those who will be watching this later on. On behalf of Kersti and myself, stay safe and
Yay!
always stay walking, guys. Good night.
Good night.